I stared at Ryan's phone, my fingers hovering over the screen like they belonged to someone else. The voice message played again, filling our kitchen with a woman's sultry laugh. "Thanks for last night, baby. You're right, your wife has no idea how much of your success she's responsible for. But hey, that's what ghostwriters are for, right? My name is Quinn, and I just discovered my husband's dirty little secret. Well, secret's plural, if we're being precise. And I'm always precise, it's what makes me such a good writer." His writer. The invisible hand behind his bestsellers. The breakfast dishes sat unwashed in the sink while I replayed the message a third time, memorizing every inflection, every pause. 8 years of marriage, 6 best-selling novels, and 1 daughter, all of it suddenly felt like a carefully constructed lie. "Mommy, can you help me with my science project?" Emily's voice floated down from upstairs, innocent and sweet. Completely unaware that her world was about to implode. "Just a minute, sweetheart." I kept my voice steady, though my hands shook as I forwarded the message to my own phone. Evidence. That's what Sarah would call it. My practical friend would tell me to document everything. The timestamp showed the message came in at 2:47 a.m. while I was putting the finishing touches on Ryan's latest manuscript. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd been polishing his prose while he was polishing other things. Ryan's phone buzzed with a text. Claire Bennett. Of course, the lifestyle influencer who'd been helping with book promotion. Her message popped up, "Delete my VM. And don't forget, dinner tonight. Tell Quinn you have a meeting with your publisher." I'd already memorized his passcode months ago. Not out of suspicion, but from the countless times I'd had to check his schedule while he was too busy writing to do it himself. Now I understood what kind of writing he'd been doing. "Quinn?" Ryan's voice boomed from the front door. "Where are you?" I placed his phone exactly where I'd found it, adjusting it to the precise angle. "Kitchen." I called back, grabbing a sponge and turning on the tap. Water splashed over my trembling hands. He appeared in the doorway, all 6 feet of cultivated charm in his tailored blazer. "Hey, beautiful." He kissed my cheek, and I fought the urge to wipe it off. "Listen, I've got a dinner meeting with my publisher tonight. The new book's getting a lot of buzz." I scrubbed a plate with unnecessary force. "Our book, you mean?" "What?" "Nothing." I smiled, the expression feeling foreign on my face. "That's great news. I'm sure Claire will be thrilled to hear about it." His pause lasted exactly 2 seconds too long. "Claire? The influencer helping with promotion?" I kept my tone light, casual. I assumed she'd be at the meeting. "Oh, right. No, just the core team tonight." He loosened his tie, a tell I'd noticed whenever he lied. "Speaking of the book, how's the editing coming along?" "Almost finished." I turned to face him, studying the man I thought I knew. "Just adding those little touches that make your voice so distinctive." He smiled, oblivious to the double meaning. "That's my girl. Always making me look good." Emily's footsteps thundered down the stairs. "Daddy, can you help with my science project?" "Sorry, princess. Daddy's got meetings all day." He checked his watch, the one I'd bought him for our anniversary. "Actually, I should head out now." I watched him hug our daughter, this man who could lie so effortlessly to both of us. Emily's disappointment was visible in her slumped shoulders, but she managed a brave smile. After he left, I held her close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo. "Don't worry, baby. I'll help you with your project." And then I glanced at my laptop where his latest manuscript sat, waiting for my finishing touches. Mommy's got some writing of her own to do. Sarah's coffee went cold as she listened to Claire's voice message for the 3rd time. We sat in her backyard, away from curious ears, while her kids played video games inside. The morning sun felt too bright for such dark revelations. "That manipulative bastard," she finally said, sliding my phone back across the table. "How are you not breaking things right now?" I traced the rim of my untouched mug. "Emily needs stability. Besides, anger won't help me think clearly. Quinn, he's stealing your life's work. Your talent. And sleeping with some Instagram wannabe who probably can't write a grocery list without spell check. 3 million followers," I corrected automatically. "And she's actually quite clever with her captions." I checked. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. "Please tell me you're not defending her." "No, your enemy." I pulled up my laptop, opening the folder I'd labeled Tax Documents 2023. "Look at these emails between Ryan and his publisher. Notice anything interesting?" She leaned in, scanning the correspondence I'd recovered from our shared cloud account. "Wait. These drafts they're discussing. The timestamps." "Exactly. Every major revision was submitted while he was supposedly at writing retreats. But his credit card statements show he was at the Four Seasons with Claire. While you were actually writing the books." Sarah's voice hardened. "You have enough here to destroy him." My phone buzzed. Ryan's face appeared on the screen, along with a text, "Great news about the book. Celebration dinner tonight? Bring Emily." "He's getting sloppy," I murmured, showing Sarah the message. "Using Emily as a shield. He never wants family dinners unless he's hiding something. What are you going to do?" Before I could answer, another text arrived, from Claire's lifestyle blog account to my personal email. An interview request for the woman behind the scenes of Ryan Mitchell's success. Sarah nearly choked on her coffee. "She's either stupid or playing games." "Neither." I forwarded the email to my secure account. "She's marking her territory. Showing me she's not afraid. But she should be." Sarah's smile turned predatory. "Because she doesn't know you like I do. You're not just some housewife who edits her husband's comic splices." I closed my laptop, decision made. "I need you to watch Emily tonight." "The celebration dinner?" "I'll tell Ryan you're having a crisis and need me. He won't question it, he never does when it gives him an excuse to cancel family time." Right on cue, my phone lit up with Ryan's response to my cancellation text, "No problem, babe. Rain check? Maybe we can do something special this weekend instead." I showed Sarah his reply. "See? Not even disappointed. He probably already had reservations with Claire." "Quinn." Sarah hesitated. "Just promise me you won't do anything rash." I stood, gathering my things. Rash would be confronting them tonight. Instead, I'm going to finish his manuscript. The one due next week? I'm going to make it brilliant. The best thing he's ever written. Why would you do that? Because when everything comes out, I want there to be no doubt who the real writer is. I paused at her garden gate. "Did you know Claire's hosting the launch party for his new book next month? At her penthouse? The one you wrote? The one I'm about to make unforgettable." I managed a smile that felt more like baring teeth. After all, every good story needs a spectacular climax. Sarah watched me with concern. "Just remember, Emily needs her mother more than she needs revenge." "That's exactly why I'm doing this." I thought of my daughter's science project, still unfinished on our kitchen table. Emily needs to see that her mother isn't someone who can be erased. That her voice matters. As I drove home, Claire's interview request burned in my inbox like a challenge. She wanted the woman behind the scenes? Fine. But she'd learned that some stories don't end the way you expect, especially when the ghostwriter decides to stop playing dead. The recording app blinked red on my phone, hidden beneath a stack of manuscripts on Ryan's desk. He paced his study, rehearsing his speech for tomorrow's writers' panel while I pretended to edit. "It's about finding your authentic voice," he declared to his imaginary audience. "That unique perspective that sets you apart from every other writer." My fingers tightened around my pen. "Maybe you should mention your creative process. How you develop your characters." "Good idea." He flashed that trademark smile. "Though honestly, they just come to me naturally. Like they're already fully formed, waiting to be discovered." They came to him in my drafts, actually. Every character, every plot twist, every carefully crafted metaphor. "Speaking of characters," I said carefully, "I've been thinking about Andrea in the new manuscript." "The sister? What about her?" "She feels familiar. Almost like Claire." The pen in his hand stilled. "I don't see the connection." "Really?" "The ambitious social media influencer who destroys her sister's marriage. Who manipulates everyone around her while maintaining her perfect online presence." Ryan's laugh came too quickly. "You're reading too much into it. Besides, you're the one who wrote that chapter." "Got him." "Did I?" I kept my voice neutral, though my heart hammered. "I thought you said that section came to you during your writing retreat last month." He loosened his tie, "That tell again." "Right, but you polished it." "You know how it works, Quinn. We're a team." "Are we?" The study door creaked open before he could respond. Emily stood there in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Daddy, will you read me a story?" "Not tonight, princess. Daddy's preparing for a big speech." "But you promised." Her lower lip trembled. "3 nights ago, you said tomorrow. Then yesterday you said tomorrow. Now it's tomorrow." I watched Ryan's face, wondering if he recognized his daughter's words as a quote from his latest book, the scene I'd written about a father's broken promises. The irony would be delicious if it wasn't so heartbreaking. "Emily," I stood, "why don't I?" "No," Ryan interrupted, "she's right. I did promise." He set down his notes. "One quick story, okay?" Emily beamed, taking his hand. As they left, I quickly checked my phone. The recording had captured everything, including his admission about my writing. Not enough for definitive proof, but another piece of evidence for my growing collection. I opened his laptop, using the password I'd watched him type countless times. His email was still logged in. There, in his drafts folder, was an unfinished message to Claire. "We need to be more careful. Q's been asking questions. Maybe we should cool things until after the book launch. Your place is too risky, the doorman recognizes me now. And delete any emails about the manuscript revisions. Better safe than." The draft ended there. My hands shook as I forwarded it to my secure email account. "What are you doing?" I jumped. Ryan stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Checking the panel schedule for tomorrow," I lied smoothly. "Making sure you haven't double-booked yourself." "On my personal email?" "The invitation came to your private account." I stood, gathering my editing notes. "Emily asleep already?" "She wanted you." His voice held an edge I'd never heard before. "Said my stories aren't as good as yours." Apparently, I don't do the voices right. Children notice details. I moved toward the door. Like broken promises. He caught my arm. "What's that supposed to mean?" I met his gaze. "It means I'm tired of being a ghost." Understanding flickered in his eyes, followed by something darker. "We should discuss your role in the next book. Maybe it's time for some changes." "Maybe it is." I pulled free of his grip. By the way, Claire's interview request? I accepted. She wants to know all about the woman behind your success. The color drained from his face. Quinn. Don't worry, I smiled, channeling his own practiced charm. I'll make sure to tell the right story. After all, isn't that what ghostwriters are for? I left him standing there, his carefully constructed world beginning to crack. In our daughter's room, I found Emily still awake, waiting for me. Mommy, she whispered as I sat on her bed, can you tell me a real story? Yes, baby. I stroked her hair, thinking of the manuscript I was crafting, not for Ryan this time, but for myself. I think it's finally time for my own story to be told. The cafe Claire chose for our interview sat across from Emily's school. A power play, reminding me what I had to lose. Through the window, I watched her arrange herself at an outdoor table, angling for optimal lighting. Everything was content to her. I checked my phone one last time. The voice recording app was ready. My finger hovered over the start button as I approached. Quinn. Claire stood, camera-ready smile in place. I'm so excited to finally meet Ryan's better half. Funny, I settled into my chair. That's not what you called me in your voice message. Her smile flickered but held. I'm not sure what you mean. Let's skip the performance, Claire. We both know why we're here. She studied me over her untouched latte. You're nothing like I expected. You mean I'm not the meek housewife who edits Ryan's commas? Actually, she leaned forward, dropping her influencer persona. I expected someone bitter. Angry. But you're calculating. You haven't seen me angry yet. A group of children spilled out of the school gates. Emily among them, laughing with her friends. Claire followed my gaze. She looks just like you, she observed. Does she know her father's a fraud? My hands clenched under the table. Does your audience know you're sleeping with a married man? My audience knows what I want them to know. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to a draft post. Like this story I'm working on. The truth behind Ryan Mitchell's success, a wife's desperate attempt to claim credit. Interesting angle. I kept my voice steady. But you forgot something. Oh. I have proof. Recordings. Emails. 8 years of manuscripts with my original drafts. How do you think your followers would react to the real story? She set down her phone. What do you want? World peace. Gender equality. My husband's head on a platter. I smiled. But I'll settle for the truth. The truth? She laughed. The truth is, Ryan needed me. You made him successful, but I made him happy. When was the last time you did that? Probably around the time he started stealing my words and calling them his own. Claire's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through. He told me you were partners. That you wanted to stay anonymous. And you believed him? I believed. She hesitated, glancing at Emily again. I believed he loved me. There it was. The crack in her armor I'd been waiting for. He doesn't love anyone but himself, I said softly. Not me, not you, not even his daughter. We're all just characters in his story. You're wrong. But uncertainty crept into her voice. I pulled out my laptop, opening the manuscript I'd found hidden in Ryan's private cloud. This is his next book. The one he hasn't shown you yet. She leaned forward despite herself. It's about a famous man who manipulates 2 women, his loyal wife and his ambitious mistress. Want to guess how it ends? Color drained from her face as she read. He wouldn't. The mistress takes the fall when everything crashes down. Becomes a cautionary tale about home-wrecking social climbers. He's already setting you up as the villain, Claire. My phone buzzed. Ryan's message flashed. Where are you? Emily's waiting at pickup. I stood, gathering my things. You have 24 hours to decide. Decide what? Whether you want to be Ryan's scapegoat or help me write a different ending. I paused. One where the women he underestimated turn out to be the heroes of their own stories. She grabbed my wrist. Why should I trust you? Because unlike Ryan, I actually write my own material. I pulled free. Including this conversation. Walking away, I heard her call after me, Quinn? What makes you think you can win? I turned back, seeing Emily wave from the school steps. Because I'm not playing his game anymore. I'm writing my own. Later, helping Emily with homework, I received a text from an unknown number. I'm in. But I have conditions. I smiled, thinking of the manuscript I'd shown Claire, the one I'd written specifically for this moment. Sometimes the best plot twists are the ones you plan yourself. Ryan's book launch invitation sat on my desk like a loaded gun. The glossy cardstock announced the event at Claire's penthouse, featuring both their names as hosts. Subtle as a brick through a window. My phone lit up with Claire's message, he's getting suspicious. Asked me about our coffee meeting. What's our next move? Before I could respond, Ryan appeared in the doorway of my home office. Working late again? Just finishing the final edits. I minimized Claire's message. Your speech for the launch needs polishing. He moved behind my chair, hands on my shoulders. The touch I once found comforting now made my skin crawl. About the launch. I'm thinking maybe you should skip it. Skip your biggest event of the year? I kept my voice neutral. That would look strange. You've seemed stressed lately. Maybe take Emily to visit your mother? I turned to face him. During your moment of triumph? When everyone's celebrating your authentic voice? His fingers tightened slightly on my shoulders. Quinn, what's really going on? You tell me, Ryan. You're the storyteller. The doorbell rang, saving him from responding. Through the window, I spotted Claire's distinctive red sports car. Expecting someone? Ryan's voice held an edge. Actually, yes. I stood, shrugging off his hands. Claire's here to discuss the launch logistics. Didn't she tell you? His face paled. Claire's here? She's been so helpful with the planning. I moved toward the door. Almost like she's part of the family. He grabbed my arm. Whatever you think you know. Dad? Emily's voice came from upstairs. Can you help me with my story? The one about the princess who saves herself? Ryan released me like I'd burned him. Not now, Emily. The sharpness in his voice made my decision crystallize. I opened the front door to find Claire, perfectly poised, but with fear in her eyes. Quinn, she managed to smile. Ryan, I didn't expect. Come in. I gestured to my office. We have details to discuss. Ryan blocked the doorway. Whatever this is, it stops now. Does it? I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over Claire's contact. Should I forward your late-night messages to your publisher? The ones about your creative process? You're bluffing. Try me. I met his gaze. Or should we discuss the real author of the princess story Emily's writing? The one you claimed came to you in a dream? Claire shifted uncomfortably. Ryan, maybe we should. Shut up. He whirled on her. This is your fault. You and your stupid interview idea. Actually, I stepped between them, that was my idea. Claire just played her part. Like a good character should. Understanding dawned in his eyes. You planned this. I learned from the best. I smiled his own practice smile back at him. You always said good stories need strong conflict. Emily appeared at the top of the stairs, clutching her notebook. Daddy? Why are you yelling? The tableau froze, Ryan with his mask slipping, Claire caught between fear and calculation, me holding 8 years of receipts in my phone. And our daughter watching it all unravel. Everything's fine, sweetheart, I called up. Mrs. Thompson is expecting you for your sleepover, remember? Go pack your overnight bag. Ryan's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You think you can destroy everything I've built? No, Ryan. I held up the launch invitation. I'm going to let you do that yourself. At your party. Unless. Unless what? Unless you're ready to tell the truth. All of it. Starting with who really writes your books. Claire stepped forward. I have proof too. Messages, videos, everything. His laugh held no humor. My loyal wife and devoted mistress, teaming up. Didn't see that plot twist coming. That's because you didn't write it. I heard Emily's footsteps descending. I did. And the ending? That's still being written. I watched him calculate his options, seeing the moment he realized he'd lost control of his carefully crafted narrative. The question was, would he burn it all down trying to keep his illusion, or accept the revised ending we'd prepared? Emily reached the bottom step, overnight bag in hand. Ready, Mom. The choice crystallized in that moment. Sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't destruction, it's simply telling the truth. We'll continue this discussion later, I said quietly. Unless you'd prefer to handle it at the launch party. Your choice, Ryan. But choose carefully. Some stories can't be rewritten. Claire's penthouse buzzed with literary elite, all here to celebrate Ryan's latest masterpiece. I watched from the corner as he worked the room, his practiced charm drawing people in like moths to flame. The manuscript I'd written clutched in my purse felt heavier by the minute. He's about to start his speech, Claire murmured, appearing beside me. Are you sure about this? I checked my phone. The email to Jessica Chen, the most ruthless literary journalist in the industry, was ready to send. Attached were the recordings, the original manuscripts, everything. Last chance to back out, I said. Claire's perfectly manicured nails tapped her champagne glass. He called me disposable last night. Said I was getting clingy. Ladies. Ryan's voice boomed as he approached. My two favorite women, together again. Should I be worried? Always, Claire smiled, all teeth. Ryan clinked his glass for attention. The room hushed as he took center stage, radiating confidence. Tonight we celebrate not just a book, but the power of authentic storytelling. My finger hovered over the send button. Quinn? Emily's voice crackled through my phone. Mom, where are you? The room tilted. Sarah was supposed to keep her overnight. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Dad's assistant came to get me. She said you and Dad wanted me at the party. The blood drained from my face. Ryan's assistant hadn't worked for us in months. Emily, where are you exactly? In the car. But Mom, I don't know this lady. Ryan's eyes locked with mine across the room as he continued his speech. His smile turned predatory. I've learned that true creativity comes from life's darkest moments, he proclaimed. From losing everything you thought you owned. My hands shook as I tried calling Sarah. Straight to voicemail. Claire gripped my arm. Quinn, what's happening? He knew. The realization hit like ice water. He knew about the evidence, about everything. He's using Emily too. And speaking of ownership, Ryan's voice cut through my panic. I'd like to thank my wife, Quinn. Stand up, darling. Let them see the woman who's always worked so diligently behind the scenes. The spotlight found me. Phones turned to record. This was his countermove, forcing my hand in front of witnesses. Mom? Emily's voice trembled through the phone. The lady's not taking me to the party. She's. The call cut off. Ryan raised his glass. To the hidden voices that shape our stories. The ones who prefer to remain anonymous. The room applauded. I met his gaze, seeing the ultimatum there. My revenge or our daughter? Choose carefully, Quinn, he said softly into the microphone. Some stories can't be rewritten. My own words thrown back at me. Claire's hand found mine under the cover of darkness. I have a car waiting downstairs. Go. I'll handle this. But the evidence will mean nothing if Emily's hurt. She squeezed my hand. Besides, you're not the only one with recordings. I deleted the email to Jessica Chin. Ryan's triumphant smile lasted exactly 3 seconds before Claire stepped into the spotlight. Actually, she announced, I have my own story to share tonight. About authenticity. About truth. She held up her phone. About who really writes Ryan Mitchell's books. The room stirred. Ryan's mask slipped. I was already moving, my heels silent on the plush carpet as I slipped out. Emily's last known GPS location blinked on my phone. 20 minutes away. Quinn. Ryan's voice carried down the hallway. Don't you dare. Claire's voice rose above his. Let me read you some interesting text messages about the real creative process behind these bestsellers. The elevator doors closed on the sound of gasps and murmuring. My reflection showed a woman I barely recognized, mascara smeared, hands steady, eyes burning. Emily's location blinked again. Moving north now. I'd wanted revenge. Wanted to reclaim my voice, my story. But some prices were too high. The elevator hit ground level. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire, go get her. I've got this covered. And Quinn? Make him pay. I stepped into the night, my daughter's tracking signal like a beacon. Ryan had forgotten the first rule of storytelling, never threaten a mother's child. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about survival. Emily's GPS signal led me to Ryan's lake house, the one he'd claimed was his private writing retreat. My headlights caught his car in the gravel driveway, next to an unfamiliar sedan. Through the window, I saw Emily curled up on the couch, apparently asleep. The woman beside her wasn't Ryan's former assistant, she was his publisher, Margaret Chin. Jessica Chen's mother. My phone vibrated. Claire's live stream from the party had gone viral. The literary world was imploding in real time. The front door opened before I could knock. Margaret's smile was razor-sharp. The real Mrs. Mitchell. Please, join us. Ryan emerged from his study, jacket off, tie loose. You should have taken the deal, Quinn. Public humiliation for private peace. Simple trade. Where's your phone? Margaret asked, too casually. Destroyed. I kept my voice steady. Like your career will be when people learn you helped cover up literary fraud. Fraud? Ryan laughed. I paid you well to write those books. Everything was legal. Except the contracts I never signed. The ones Margaret backdated. I turned to her. Did Jessica know you were suppressing stories about ghostwriters? That must have been an interesting mother-daughter conversation. Margaret's composure cracked slightly. You don't understand the industry. I understand everything. I moved toward Emily. Including why you're both here instead of damage control at the party. You need my original manuscripts. The ones proving the timeline. Smart girl. Ryan stepped between me and Emily. But you forgot something. I know how you write. Every plot twist, every character motivation. I taught you everything. No. I met his gaze. I taught you. And you never learned the most important rule. Which is? The villain always monologues too long. On cue, Sarah burst through the back door with 2 police officers. Emily startled awake at the commotion. Kidnapping and extortion, Sarah announced. Plus whatever they find on those hard drives. I saw them loading into Margaret's car. Ryan lunged for his study, but I was already there, blocking the door. Looking for these? I held up a USB drive. Claire wasn't the only one making recordings. Remember all those plotting sessions where you dictated plot points? The ones where you admitted everything? You wouldn't. His charm vanished, replaced by something ugly. You'll destroy yourself too. Mom? Emily's voice trembled. What's happening? I kept my eyes on Ryan. I'm telling the truth, baby. Like in your princess story. Remember how she saved herself? By using her voice, Emily whispered. Margaret moved toward her purse, but Sarah was faster. The police would love to see what's on your phone, Margaret. Especially those messages about suppressing stories. You planned this, Ryan realized. All of it. The party, Claire's betrayal, Jessica Chen's mother. I learned from the best. I smiled his signature smile. You always said good stories need satisfying endings. The officers moved in with handcuffs. Margaret started negotiating immediately, but Ryan just stared at me. I made you, he spat. No. I took Emily's hand, feeling her squeeze back. I made you. Every word, every story, every success. I just forgot to write one thing. What's that? My own story. I led Emily toward the door. But I'm starting now. Sarah followed us out, already dialing Claire for an update. Behind us, Ryan's voice rose in desperate explanation to the officers, spinning one last story nobody would believe. My phone buzzed with a message from Claire, done here. Your name is trending. Publishers are calling. Ready for phase 2? Emily looked up at me. Mom? Are we going home? No, baby. I hugged her close, breathing in her familiar scent. We're going somewhere better. We're going to write our own story. With a happy ending? I watched through the window as the officers led Ryan and Margaret out. 8 years of silence, of living in shadows, of writing other people's truths instead of my own, all of it ending in a single night. The happiest, I promised. Because this time, we're writing it together. Sarah started the car, and as we pulled away, I finally hit send on the email I'd been saving, my first novel, under my own name. Ready to tell the world who I really was. Some stories don't need revenge. They just need truth. The morning paper sat unopened on my desk, Ryan's guilty plea splashed across the headlines. Next to it, a stack of publishing contracts waited for my signature, not his. My phone buzzed with another message from his lawyer about the divorce settlement. I left them all untouched, focusing instead on Emily's voice drifting through our new apartment as she read aloud from her notebook. The princess realized her magic wasn't in her crown, but in her words. That's beautiful, Claire said from her spot on our couch. You're definitely your mother's daughter. I paused in the doorway, watching them. Claire had surprised everyone by becoming Emily's favorite writing mentor, their Sunday sessions now a weekly ritual. Sometimes redemption comes from unexpected places. Mom! Emily bounced up. I finished my story. Want to hear the ending? Always. I settled beside them, noticing how Claire's influencer polish had softened into something more genuine these days. My phone buzzed again. Sarah's text, "Court documents are sealed. Margaret took the plea deal. It's over." But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Before you read, I pulled out a package from my desk. "I have something for you." Emily tore open the wrapping, revealing a book, my book. The one I'd started the night I found Ryan's messages, written in stolen moments between revelations and betrayals. "Ghostwriter" by Quinn Mitchell, she read, then looked up with wide eyes. "You wrote a whole book?" "I wrote many books," I smiled. "But this is the first one with my name on it." Claire picked up the newspaper, scanning the headlines. Ryan's statement is interesting. He's still trying to control the narrative. Let him try. I opened the book to its dedication page. Emily read this part. She leaned in, her finger tracing the words, "To my daughter, who taught me that the best stories are the ones we dare to tell ourselves." The doorbell rang. Claire checked her phone and stood. "That'll be my car. Time for my meeting with the ghostwriting documentary people." "You don't have to do this," I reminded her. "Actually, I do." She gathered her things. "Some stories need to be told, right? Even the messy ones. Even if we're not the heroes in them." After she left, Emily curled into my side. "Mom? Are you sad about Dad?" I considered the question, thinking of the manuscript pages spread across my desk, my new novel. Flowing freely now that I wasn't writing in someone else's voice. "I'm sad about who I thought he was," I answered honestly. "But not about who I discovered I could be." "Like the princess in my story?" "Exactly like that." I picked up her notebook. "Now, let's hear this ending of yours." She sat up straighter, proud and sure in a way I'd never been at her age. The princess realized she didn't need revenge against the people who stole her voice. She just needed to find it again, louder and stronger than before. My phone lit up with another call from Ryan's lawyer. I silenced it, focusing instead on my daughter's words, on the story she was creating, not a fairy tale of perfect justice. But something more complex. Something real. The morning sun caught the book cover on my desk, my name gleaming in gold letters. Beyond it, through the window, the city sprawled vast and full of possibilities. Somewhere out there, Ryan was crafting his comeback story, Claire was reshaping her narrative. And Sarah was probably already planning my next book tour. But here, in this moment, I listened to my daughter's voice, growing stronger with each word. She'd written her princess a different kind of ending, not one where she vanquished all her enemies, but one where she learned to speak her truth so loudly that their lies became irrelevant. Emily looked up from her notebook. "Did I do it right?" "Perfect," I said, understanding finally that revenge hadn't been the answer. The real victory wasn't in destroying Ryan's story, but in reclaiming the power to tell our own. She grinned and turned the page. "Want to help me write the sequel?" "Always," I promised, reaching for a pen. "We've got plenty of stories left to tell."